Hey everyone, it's Jacqueline for Pixie Dust PhD. Usually when I'm traveling for a hotel room, I will give a request of a high floor and away from the elevator, and that's about it. I like to think I'm not too picky. But I figured for my upcoming trip to Walt Disney World, I would test out some actual specific room requests. There are free and paid ways to do this, and in this video we will go over both methods. If you do have a specific room in mind, whether that be the exact room, a general floor you'd like to stay on, a cardinal direction you would like your windows to face, or near or far from certain things like main amenities, the parking lot, or elevators, well, it can't hurt to put in a room request if you have the time. Stay tuned for an overview of everything you need to know about this process. Before we get started, I want to say thanks so much for coming by the channel to watch the video. If you enjoy my content, please hit that thumbs up button to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. You can ring the bell icon to receive notifications whenever I post new videos. I am so grateful that you're here, and with that, let's get on to today's topic. There are essentially two ways to make room requests. Let's go over the simplest one first. This is online during your check-in process. Navigate to My Disney Experience and click Start Check-in Now. When you begin your online check-in process, part of the information stored will be details on file. If you expand this section, you will then see room requests. These are totally optional, but here's where you would add up to 2 room requests. Depending on your resort, these options can be things like high floor, ground floor, near the elevator, near transportation, or even a specific building of the resort that you're staying in. WDW Prep School has a fantastic list of all the information they've gathered for possible room request options during online check-in. Although the list is not 100% complete, it is probably the best list you're going to find. I will be sure to leave a link to that in the description below. The only options I'm being presented with for my Beach Club villas and my Boardwalk villas upcoming stay are near the elevator. My rooms at Bay Lake Tower appear to have no options to add. I'm not sure if this is a glitch in the system or on my end, but this is what I'm being presented with. Just note that your mileage may vary with your online room requests via this check-in process. And these online check-in room requests are only for those predetermined categories where you can select up to 2. There is nowhere to leave additional notes if you desire. If you have more exact room requests, like a specific room, the cardinal direction you want to face, or anything else you feel like the details would be helpful, you'll probably instead want to contact a cast member to leave your room request rather than do this in the online check-in tool. This free, more detailed method, which I've not done myself, but as reported by WDW Prep School, is to call in and leave your room request verbally with a cast member at least 5 days in advance of your arrival. Anecdotally, I have seen more success stories if folks call in to make their room request a little bit earlier than that, but we really have no data on what the best timing to leave your room request is. I will note here that the paid service touring plan will submit your room request up to 30 days in advance. Regardless, do note that you need to make your room request before your rooms are assigned. Generally speaking, this is around 5 days in advance. If you don't get your room request in before that time frame, well, it's pretty unlikely that cast members are going to be able to rejigger room assignments to take your room request into account. For general room requests, you can call 407-939-7630. If you have a special request due to a disability, then call 407-939-7807. And if you've booked your vacation through a travel agent, do note it's likely that the travel agent will have to make these requests on your behalf, so be in contact with them. Similarly, another free and more detailed method would be to fax your room request to your resort. Again, anecdotally, there does seem to be a fairly high success rate with this method. You will need to fax your exact resort, though. There isn't a general fax you can send it to. You should be able to find the fax number online when you're looking up resort information, or you can always call the resort and ask for the fax number. That being said, if you're calling the resort, I may just ask that cast member to leave my room request verbally with them instead of deal with the fax personally. If you are planning on faxing or calling in your room requests, do make sure that whatever you leave in your online check-in doesn't contradict any of those room requests. For example, if my more detailed room request via the phone or the fax includes a high floor and facing a specific direction, I certainly wouldn't want to do the online check-in and add ground floor. Personally, I'm just going to leave my online check-in room request blank as these are optional and I will be relying solely on this more detailed method. But if you do choose to do both, just ensure that they do not contradict each other. That would be very confusing for cast members assigning rooms, and I would bet it would not result in a great outcome for you. Moving away from methods, how do you even know what room to request? You can definitely do a Google search for best room or room recommendations at the resort you're staying at. This almost surely will pull up vlogs, blogs, message board posts, and more detailing folks' favorite rooms. Instead though, I like to use the Touring Plan's Room View Finder tool. This is absolutely free. You do not need to have a Touring Plan subscription in order to utilize this tool. Let's do an example with Beach Club villas. To start, navigate to the hotel that you're staying at on Touring Plans. I don't find their interface for finding the hotels particularly user-friendly. Frankly, I will usually just Google touring plans and then the resort. Once you're on the resort page, you should find a banner somewhere near the top about their room finder. Go ahead and navigate to that. On this page, it's by clicking Find a Great Room. Do note there are pretty big differences between room types you're actually paying for versus room requests. For example, if I've booked a studio villa, I can't reasonably request a 1-bedroom villa and expect that to be taken into account. Similarly, if you're paying for a standard room, you can't reasonably request a preferred room, as that is a paid category at most of the hotels. This is just something to keep in mind when you're considering room requests. Be sure to stay within the category of what you've actually paid for. At Beach Club Villas, there are no different view types. Everything is a standard view. The only real difference will be the room type. There are studios, 1-bedrooms, all 2-bedrooms, lock-off 2-bedrooms, and standard 2-bedrooms. So here on this dropdown, I'm going to click Studio, as that is what I've booked. On this menu to the left, if you want to specify anything else other than your room type, like distance to the lobby, distance to transportation, etc., feel free. For me personally, I just do my room type so I can view everything. Okay, great. We've specified our studio type room at Beach Club Villas, and now we can see that it defaults to the Villas building only and on the first floor. The rooms in red match the room type that you've selected, so for me, these are all studios. Before really starting, I like to have a general sense of what's outside the building. You can get a sense of this based on your prior knowledge, or you can pretty easily do it by zooming out on Google Maps. For example, I know that over in this direction is the parking lot, and then down here, these exits will be closest to the main amenities. This is basically just across from Beach Club Marketplace. Then down and out this way, or over to this right path, I believe, is how you would walk to get to Epcot's International Gateway. For me, this means there are a few stairwells strategically placed depending on what you want to be near. I always start my browse at the top floor just because higher floors are my personal preference. You'll note this room here. This is a studio and it does look super large. And through this free Touring Plans Room Finders tool, you can see any submitted pictures from users who have stayed in this room and see if anyone's left comments about the room as well. This person does note that it's an extra large room due to the odd shape. It also has a nice balcony and is overlooking the pool. However, this person also comments that it is directly attached to the elevator shaft, so you are constantly hearing noise from the elevator. As much as I love extra space, peace and quiet is more important to me, so I personally am going to be abandoning this one. But if you don't mind the noise, this is probably a great choice for a room request for you. Beach Club Villas in general is a bit unique because the balcony sizes are extremely variable. It's not set up such that all the studios just have the smallest balconies and then they get progressively bigger. Some studios will have tiny balconies, some studios will have very large balconies, etc. Therefore, often when folks are putting in room requests, specifically at Beach Club Villas, they are typically looking for a larger sized balcony. I'll also be going this route and showing you how I think about it. Here's a tip that doesn't always hold true, but more often than not, this sort of corner type rooms, not a true corner, but you can see this dead space in between, these corner type rooms may have larger balconies. Here now we're on the 4th floor and you can see that this room, 455, has 2 public comments and they're both noting how large the balcony is. Then essentially the same room over on the opposite corner, you can see based on the pictures that are left, it does look like this one also has a large balcony. Plus, look at that fireworks picture. And yep, if we scroll down a little bit, public comment does confirm that it has a large oversized balcony. Personally, I started with these 2 rooms that face the outside of the building. I prefer not to face the pool. I often come back to the room midday to take a nap, so I don't really love the pool noise. This may also be a consideration for you if you like to take a midday nap or if you have kids who do. But if you do like that pool view, I would consider the same strategy of looking for these corner-esque type rooms just on the side of the building facing the pool. For this room, 460, based on the information left here, it's pretty hard to tell about the balcony. Let's go 1 floor down to see if we can do some sleuthing. For room 360, you can see this one picture that alludes to a larger balcony perhaps, but it looks like it might be gated off. But 2 public comments do confirm this is an oversized balcony. That doesn't mean this will necessarily be true on the 4th floor since we're now on the 3rd floor, but if you're okay with the 3rd floor and facing the pool, this may be a good option for you. And then the same room on the other side would be room 328, and from the information left, we really can't tell about balcony size. Let's move back to the outside of the building and not facing the pool. Room 331 has some nice pictures, but no comments about the balcony. And room 355 is the same situation, so we really aren't sure. Personally, I generally would not request a room on the 2nd floor, but let's take a look just for fun. Here you can see that there are pictures for room 260, but there's this red banner across the top letting you know that the pictures are not from this room, they are from a nearby room. In this case, the picture's from the 1st floor, so we really can't infer anything about balconies. In room 228 is the same situation. The picture here is from room 128, so we really can't know anything about the balcony on the 2nd floor. Moving to the outside of the building, we're now looking at room 231. There are lots of pictures of the general view, and there is a comment, but nothing about balcony size, unfortunately. For me, I like higher floors, and I like to not face the pool, so let's go back up to the 5th floor and look at room 555. This is the highest floor in this building, and it's one of those corner-ish rooms that may have a large balcony. It's really hard to tell about the balcony from what's submitted here, but we are seeing very nice fireworks pictures, which is cool. While I continue to browse in the background, I do want to caution you about fireworks views from Beach Club Villas in particular. There's a reason beach club villas are all standard view rooms. The trees continue to grow a bit each year, and depending on how lush they are, you may not be able to see anything. It would be a very nice bonus to get a fireworks view, but I wouldn't count on it at all. And if you put in a room request and get that room for a room you think you'll be able to see fireworks from, and then when you arrive it turns out that's not true, definitely don't take it out on cast members. If there was a true theme park view room, that would be a separate category for beach club villas. In this case, like I said, they're all standard view for a reason. A fireworks view would be a nice bonus, but definitely don't count on it. I know I'm not. I can be a bit indecisive if I feel like I have incomplete information, so I did quite a bit more browsing of a vast majority of the studio options, and I finally made a decision. I'm going to go with requesting room 431. It faces the outside of the building, so the trees are rather than the pool complex. It's on a relatively high floor, and based on information here, I'm fairly sure it has an oversized balcony. And it's somewhat closer to the stairwell that will pop me out near the main amenities and to that walkway to Epcot. If I were to go the completely free route for room requests, this is probably where I would stop. I would do research via this room finder tool on Touring Plans, which again is completely free to access. Then I would call and make my room request. I would leave the specific room number, 431, and then also the considerations that went into that. But I did recently pay for a Touring Plan subscription, so I'm going to go ahead and use their paid service where they will submit a room request for me. If you do pay for Touring Plans, I would highly suggest you create your trip on your dashboard. I've done this broken up by my hotel stays. Since I've already done this and I am logged into my Touring Plans dashboard, Touring Plans already knows that I am staying at Beach Club during this day, so I'm able to click here to start the process of my automatic room request. Now you can see on my dashboard the requesting room is listed as 431. But this red banner does let me know I need to configure my room request. All this takes is inputting the name on the reservation and the reservation number. Now you can also see the text that Touring Plans has pre-filled in that they will send over as your room request. They're saying I want floor 4, a southeast facing room, rooms such as 431, 429, etc. Now I know most of these are not studios, so I actually went ahead and edited out the numbers of 1 bedrooms and similar that I know it's a little bit silly to ask for. I actually ended up editing this pre-filled in text quite heavily. Overall, I asked for Beach Club Villa's southeast facing room with a larger balcony. The examples I gave were 431, 331, and 231. The other southeast facing rooms, particularly on the 4th floor, weren't super interesting to me. Then in the additional information box, I'm just typing out that I would prefer to be on a higher floor, southeast facing, away from the pool. I also note that I'd rather be further away from the stairs out towards the parking lot and closer to stairs that will lead me to main amenities. I have no clue if changing the Touring Plans automatically generated a line that they send over and then adding these additional notes will bite me in the butt or not, but I guess we'll find out. Once you're done configuring your room request, you go ahead and save that. And then on the dashboard, this line that was previously red saying I needed to give them more information is now green, and it says that they will send my room request 30 days in advance. Once the service does contact the resort with your room request, you will get an email confirmation, and it will also update on your Touring Plans dashboard. I also did this for the other stays on my trip. I won't show you the full footage, but I went through the same general process. I navigated to the resort and picked the room type I would be staying in. Then I figured out roughly where in the building I wanted to stay and the direction I wanted to be facing. Of course, next I looked at quite a lot of these submitted pictures of the views, and then I prioritized higher floors. In some cases, I did submit the exact auto-generated Touring Plans room requests, and in others I did fiddle with it a little bit and update it like you saw for Beach Club. For my boardwalk stay, I requested room 5085. Essentially, I wanted a southeast-facing room on a higher floor, and I liked the general location of this room. For my Standard View Bay Lake Tower studio, I asked for room 7514. Standard View studios don't go very far up on the floors in the tower, unfortunately. Interestingly, there were some rooms that seemed to face directly Magic Kingdom, like 7328, that Touring Plans did mark as a Standard View room. They really kind of seem like theme park view to me, but maybe because they're so low in the tower, it's more or less just a parking lot view and you can't see too much of the Magic Kingdom. Honestly, I don't know, but I thought it was something interesting to note. For the Lakeview Bay Lake Tower room, I asked for room 8408. In this case, for a Lakeview, you may want to decide if you want super clear views of the electrical water pageant versus a chance at getting a partial theme park view. Personally, I went with the latter. And for my theme park view room at Bay Lake Tower, in my opinion, you really can't go wrong with this. It's going to be magical no matter what. I simply went for a request on as high a floor as possible. In this case, I believe that is floor 12. A quick side note, if you are using a paid version of Touring Plans and you're doing a split stay, especially within one resort like I am, the click here to request this room link from the room views may get confused. You can see here, because I have multiple different stays at Bay Lake Tower and I had already submitted one of the room requests, it was confused and said, hey, you've already submitted a room request, basically. It didn't realize that I had moved on to the next part of my reservation, still at Bay Lake Tower, but in a different room. Rather than use this convenient click here method from the room while you're browsing generally, what you can do is start from your dashboard instead. Go to this section of your trip that you've created, and then from here, click Room Requests. This is a slight annoyance, but it's a really easy workaround, so I thought I would share in case you are a little bit frustrated. In summary, we've gone over a great way to find exactly what room you want. The Room Finder tool on Touring Plans is totally free. I promise you do not need a subscription to use this. Then, armed with that information, you can go ahead and submit room requests on your own, or you can utilize a paid service like Touring Plans. We shall see what my rooms end up actually being. Remember that your room requests are never a guarantee. Cast members do their best to accommodate you and make your trip as magical as possible, but of course it's not necessarily feasible to give everyone their perfect room every single time. If you don't end up with what you've requested, I'm sure the room is still great, and remember to be kind to cast members. If you've put in room requests before for your stay on site at Walt Disney World, let me know what method you use and how that worked out for you. It's always fun to hear about your experiences. At the end of the day, while some views in the same room type category may be better than others, ultimately you're going to end up with a nice room that will absolutely suit your needs. You don't have to put in room requests, but hey, I have some free time, I'm a detail-oriented person, and I figured why not. I'll be sure to update you after my trip on how this worked out. Until then, may the rest of your day be super magical, and we'll see you real soon at Pixie Dust PhD.